Hey everyone, and welcome to the weekly catch-up podcast. It's Wednesday, August 19, 2020, and this is the 44th installment of our humble little show. I'm Carson Gibbons, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. B-Rad Colvin, folks.
That'd be me.
What's up, tots and bots?
Whew, back in the classroom, baby.
Oh, yeah, you started this week, right?
Yeah, today was our first day back with all of our students.
Not Monday?
So, no, Monday was another planning day. Yesterday was freshman orientation, and today we did a run-through with all of our students.
Well, as Trinidad would say, shout out to them freshmen on Instagram straight flexing.
That's right, baby.
All right, well, let's get into those updates and more.
Let's get it!
It's the weekly catch-up with Carson and Brad. Here to talk about the week we done had. It could be sports, religion, politics, we keeping the tabs. You would think they work for Gucci, how they deep in they bag. Get your facts up, on Wednesday we'll be counting the stats up. So turn the volume up till it's maxed up, you know the drill. So tell a friend to relax up and chill, we back up. This is the weekly catch-up.
Back in the classroom. I feel whole again.
Nice.
In some ways.
Okay.
In other ways, you know, the whole wearing the masks thing and wiping down desks after every class and having a sink out in the front of our building for students to wash hands before they enter. That's different.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. I already had to tell multiple kids to put their mask back on, to put it, make sure it's covering their nose as well. So that's interesting. Dude, this is going to be an insane year. On top of COVID, last year we had 135 students. As of today, we have 152 students.
Goodness gracious.
We have more than last year. All of our sister schools are like down in numbers.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, like
how's business? Booming.
We're killing it. It's like we're COVID out here,
we're doing it for the Lord.
Yeah. And I have to move one of my classes to the library because I can't even house my students in a safe manner.
Yeah, stadium seating, baby.
Yeah. So
Amphitheater, Brad.
Yeah, and it was an exciting day.
Well, awesome. Shout out to those sister schools. Y'all are not doing well.
Well, I mean, they were working with
CTA
what they got.
Is crushing.
Yeah.
What do you attribute the growth to, honestly?
Maybe
the fact that you're offering school?
Well, other schools are offering as well. Like Burton started this week, too, and so did like the boarding academy Ozark, North Dallas Christian. I mean, they've all begun.
Did you poach from some of the sister schools?
We do have some of their students.
Are they driving from those more populous markets?
You know, some their parents actually like moved to like the Cleburne, Keene area. Others, are about halfway and they just decided that they were ready for a change. I know that Burton has a new principal this year. It's possible
you have a new principal this year, right?
Yes. But I will say he's done an excellent job along with some of our coworkers as far as recruiting this summer. Like, I mean, they were busting butt, dude. Like they were calling everyone, making sure, to get as many students as possible. And it was obviously successful. So I'm really excited about it.
All right, you brown noser, calm down.
No, I'm just looking at the stats.
They're not sponsoring us yet.
I'm just looking at the stats.
Dude, it's you have to wonder if you're growing because of COVID, because COVID is taking people that would live in Fort Worth proper or Dallas proper, and they're making them move out to Johnson County, or they're incentivizing them. There is a flight to more rural areas. And, towns like Keene, for instance, that it's a pretty clean little town, with a real sense of community. And really, you're just, if the larger group in Keene has a consensus, you can do whatever you want,
I mean, I do attribute a portion of it to that. I would attribute another portion, like you see all these schools posting on Facebook and stuff, like videos of all the teachers saying, we miss our students, stuff like that. And we did the same. But on top of that, we also have made videos and guidelines where we have like our actual plans for the school year. So let's say, we have a history trip to DC. Well, if things aren't looking good around that time, it's not that we're just going to cancel it and be like, oh, well, I guess we're staying in school. Like, we're going to be making other plans to still make it fun for the kids. Like, we're not canceling something and not replacing it with something else. Like, we're always going to have something else for them to do, which I think the parents love that. They want the best for their kids as safely as possible. So for senior retreat, we take them up to Lake Whitney. Well, there was concern about it in the board meeting last night because students, whenever they're sleeping in the cabins, they're going to be taking off their masks and breathing that air. And, it's like 6 to 8 people per cabin. So we're discussing rent. It's going to be a lot more costly, but we're talking about renting extra cabins and being able to just put 3 in a cabin. So I feel like we are actively trying to be safe, but also still provide a great year for the students.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I hope that more and more teachers get that reality. And I think it's just respective to your location in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're going to have a more normal year than somebody would in LA County, for instance. So that's awesome, dude. So off to a good start.
Yeah. I gave my whole spiel about what I'm about with my new sophomores. I knew some of them because I don't teach the freshmen, but I see them in the school and just talk with them.
Did you walk in and you were just like, "Arg, I'm Brad. I'm Teacher the Pirate."
Nah, man. I was like, it's all love. This is a safe space.
It's all love.
Yeah.
Walk the plank.
I told them, I was like, we may have never had a conversation before, but I want you to know I love you. I'll never intentionally hurt you. And it's going to be a good school year. I want you to feel like, whenever we're having discussions, even if we disagree and you have a different perspective, like, I don't want you to be afraid to share that because I might learn something from you, like,
you're like, hey, I'm Brad.
Yeah.
And you may not know it yet, but I'm going to be a big mark on your life.
Yeah. I mean,
you're going to call me in 10 years, all teary eyed.
Well,
you may not know it yet, but you guys look up to me. It's okay.
Stupid.
I've been a little before. What was that movie with the guy from Stifler? Where
yeah. It's like, shut up, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I love that little guy.
I can't remember what the name of it is.
Role Models.
Yes, that's it.
Who was the other guy? Was it Jason Sudeikis or something? Who was it?
I'll look it up.
That was a funny movie back in the day. Remember movies?
Like Owen Wilson or something?
I don't know. You're about to tell me though.
I am.
About the IMDb drum roll.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd. That's right.
Yeah.
Man, he used to be in everything.
Yeah. Now he's just in some things.
Nobody's in anything anymore. I heard Georgia's back open shooting some stuff, but the LA scene continues to become more and more desolate in many ways. And what's taken over in terms of the tent cities and whatnot, I hear is horrific. It's we're winding down. We had some of the final podcasts, like the church podcast with Diaz is wrapped up. He's headed back, and Rogan is all gearing up, kind of making the familiar rounds. He had Diaz and Brian Redband on a couple days ago, and they discussed it. Just I don't know. We're seeing the flight to states that are more red, at least to have more landmass that allow for you to spread out, not pay state income taxes, and
man, socially distanced concerts. Have you seen those pictures?
Which ones are you specifically referring to?
So I've been seeing pictures, and this is in other countries as well, and I've seen places within the U.S. saying that they're going to follow that example. But it's like, so you have your main stage, and then and you have like the open field, but instead of it just being general admission and like mosh pits and stuff, it's like these secluded like little rings, like mini boxing rings, and you're sitting there with just the people that you came with, and you're 6 feet apart from everybody else, and like you get to sit down. There's a table.
I'm telling you, some of these things are great.
Yeah.
Some like
I'm like, no more sweaty teenagers complaining that they can't see over me because they didn't get there soon enough.
Or getting in
I'm
fights.
not bitter.
Man, I went to Drake at Jexa way back in the day, and everybody was just trying to beat each other up.
Yeah, man. Like Alec, who, you know, longtime listener, longtime contributor. You know, you've all heard him. He's like he's like my concert buddy, but we like to get there early to be up front. And you know, he's a 6'7" dude, and so we always have these like kids complaining that they can't see over us. And it's just like, now we just get the table and y'all can shut up.
He can just stand on top of the table,
right?
Obstruct everyone's view.
Oh man,
that's what's up. No, I'd be down for that, especially outdoors. It works for different. Only certain acts really can resonate in that type of environment. You know, like it's not my preference to go see Jay-Z perform in that environment,
right?
But if I was going to see something like what's it called, Revolution or something. I saw them on a lawn one time in Baltimore, and that type of thing, you know, would be much better suited.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of concerts, Billy Bob's is back open.
Nice.
And they're about to be doing concerts inside. I think that's really interesting, being an enclosed space. And so they've opened up their little dining room area, but I guess they're going to start concerts like either this week or next week.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes down.
Wasn't that a venue that you could still smoke inside?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That's like are they going to still allow that? Because when I went to the casino, I specifically asked before we walked in, like, okay, are people smoking cigs at the slot machines? Well, they were.
Yeah.
Mask was down underneath.
Yeah, that's WinStar.
Started to break out because of the mask. Like my sister was complaining about that several weeks ago, and I was like, oh, whatever. And then as it's gotten hotter and I've sweated in the mask and all of this, like going to Mexico and even coming back to Dallas and it's 105. Yeah, it's problematic.
I got two of them, Under Armour masks, and they're like 3 layered, but they're really breathable, really comfy. Happy about those. I figured we're kind of in this for the long haul now, and we'll be wearing masks for a while. So they're like $30 a pop, but
woo,
yeah,
big spender.
Well, I mean, being a teacher, like knowing that I have to go in and teaching every day, you know, and I also have facial hair. I have my beard out, and just some of those cheaper ones. My face gets itchy, like you're saying, and just needed to invest in a couple nice ones.
I've just been using those generic blue medical ones.
Yeah. The ones that get fuzzy by the end of the day.
Yeah. But now I'm thinking, you know,
I mean, get a Gucci one, bro.
Gucci, Prada,
yeah,
Fendi.
Yeah, I had a student come in, like it's not a real Gucci one, but he came in like, and it has the Gucci emblem on it that he probably got at a kiosk.
I bought fake Louis in the streets of Florence one time from some Nigerians with a blanket.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Shout out to
them.
Hope they're doing all right.
Yeah. Hope their tourist business has gotten wiped out, but now I think Italy is like way back, like open for tourism. There's some deals out there to be had if you're going abroad at the moment.
Man, I'm like, it's time to start looking at flights, probably.
Yeah, well, I've been on them. You've been on them too, but you were socially distanced because it was private.
That PJ.
That PJ.
That PJ and my PJs.
Okay. Don't say that ever again.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so you brought no show notes this week.
Yeah, man.
Leaving me high and dry.
I was sitting on your couch.
Nice
I found like 2 things to talk about. We'll get to them.
Okay. Just rescinding control at this point.
Man,
huh?
It was just gearing up for school and, you know, having the extra learning all the procedures and stuff on top of that. It was just a busy week. But I mean, tomorrow, so let me start over. Today, I met with all of my students. You know, we have block schedule where I see students every other day, but today we shortened the classes and I saw all of them. So it was really just getting my spiel down, telling them what to expect. But tomorrow, it's kind of just back to normal like it was last year. So I figured things are going to kind of slow down. I already have my lesson plans set for like the next 2 months. So next week I'll have some show notes is what I'm trying to say.
Nice. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you for that long-winded excuse. No,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that things are lifted off. You have liftoff, and it's going to be another great year of molding and shaping young, impressionable minds, and no better person to do it than young B-Rad.
Well,
Am I right?
we out here.
We out here. All right. You want to hear anything about my week, maybe?
You hit me, bro. So you last left us with the teaser that you were going on a trip this weekend.
Yep. We went on Mr. John Seal's bachelor party this weekend.
Yeah. What's up, John?
Socially distanced version.
All right.
And it was pretty great, actually.
Yeah.
It was a side-splitting weekend, dude. Like, I had not been on an all-guys trip, socially distanced. Like, we had this awesome bungalow.
Mm-hmm.
They totally lied about the number of bedrooms. Like, they
really?
counted the den as a bedroom because it had a pull-out couch.
Oh.
I'm like, that's not a bedroom, Chief.
Nah.
You can't say Chief anymore, right?
You can say
what
that.
if I'm referring to Fire Chief?
Yeah. Because I don't think whenever somebody's like, okay, Chief, like, I don't think they're talking.
I love that. Not now, Chief.
Yeah,
I'm in the
yeah.
zone.
It's like, what's up, buddy? What's up, Chief? Like,
I love that.
yeah.
I so rarely use Chief, so
Right.
it's a little gym that I
Yeah,
throw
I
in
think
there.
it's more of like a passive aggressive type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that ain't it, Chief.
Well, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. So the bungalows were awesome. We had like a private deck overlooking the water, like a tributary into Lake Travis,
Mm-hmm.
which I hadn't spent a whole lot of time on Lake Travis, maybe because
Okay.
it was beautiful. Like they have like these cliffs going down to the lake, so it doesn't feel like your stereotypical Texas lake.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down. We all met at like a brewery down south near Austin, and turns out it was just like a hole in a door that they slid beers out of and some janky picnic tables like in the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
It was the socially distanced version. So we gathered there for an hour because we went in 2 different cars, and then we went to the bungalows, checked in. They had 15 of these bungalows right on stilts, right off the water, with the marina that we were going to utilize all weekend directly next door.
Okay.
So we never had to use the cars for any of the activities, which was great. And so these bungalows, unfortunately, they had like a nice pool and hot tub that are in rock underneath the cliff overhangs.
Uh-huh.
So it's like built into the landscape because you're literally hanging
that's
off.
nice.
And they were closed due to COVID, which
That's
was
not
very
nice.
frustrating. But we were right on the water and saw a bunch of wildlife, deer,
Mm-hmm.
foxes, foxeye, whatever the plural of fox
Yeah,
is.
Foxen.
Yeah, foxy.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Oh, it was in Lakeway, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I hadn't perused Lakeway and Bee Cave,
Mm-hmm.
in these kind of surrounding areas. But Lakeway is like the HP. It's like the Highland Park
Okay.
of the greater Austin area, from what I could see. Because we turn off the highway, and it's just like probably multi-million-dollar mansions and lake houses, and some of the estates had like guest houses that you would have bought the guest house as your first house, like and it never stopped. We went in that whole environment for like 20-30 minutes, and then you get to the bungalows. So they were in a great area.
Sweet.
We stayed socially distanced, like nothing naughty went down.
Well, I was about to say, like, so when you went to the gentleman's club, like, you had to
No gentleman's
Oh,
club.
okay.
We it was really just it was kind of chill. Like both nights we went out and had really fabulous Mexican dinners, got some margaritas, and then we'd go back and chill out on the private deck and do stuff like that. On Saturday we rented a ski boat, went tubing, did all of that, and then later in the day we rented paddle boards and kayaks and
nice.
went around the inlet. And so Saturday was pretty much just lake sports day.
Mm-hmm.
And went out to a nice dinner that night. Went to Kirby Lane Cafe for brunch
Dude,
on the way
Kirby
back.
Lane is the best.
So it was a good time. We weren't up in the club or anything because there was no club to be had. But that area was beautiful. Yeah, I think a couple of us are gonna schedule a golf date coming out of that because
Nice.
we had Actually, it's worth mentioning. I'm trying to think. The different role types that we had on the trip led to a really interesting conversation that was like business meets politics meets media meets a lot of like stocks and investment. Like, so we had a management consultant, a digital marketer manager, a wealth advisor, a hustler, and a schemer. That was Jay. A hustler
Jay.
and a schemer, a startup software sales guy, myself, and a Carrollton cop. So we had every slice of life. And it was super interesting. Just 6 guys that, we'd never all, been on a trip together.
Right.
I'd been on trips with multiple of these guys in other situations, but never like the 6 of us. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Like my sides hurt from laughing so hard because
that's the best.
We just had the right dynamics and a different viewpoint. So it was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah. So no stories to put behind our paywall this episode.
No, man. It was going to be in New Orleans, obviously. Yeah. That would just be like me being on Patreon saying, please give me back all the money I lost at the tables this weekend, because we would have been a big gambling crew.
My dad texted me after listening to the last podcast because we were mentioning like blocking our parents from it. And he's like, if you blocked me and Carson's dad, then you would lose 50% of your listeners. So,
shots fired. Does he need a quick screenshot of our analytics real quick? Is that what you need, Dean?
Yes, drop the numbers.
Okay. Or, you know what? We'll make it cost prohibitive for the parents to listen. They can listen. It's $1,000 a download.
Ooh.
Put your money where your mouth is, or where our mouths are.
Right. Oh, man.
So, yeah. Nothing to put behind the Patreon wall, but that was, it was good, wholesome, like just to get away from like screens and all of this, like, and get out on the water. We went to this place called Oasis on Friday night, and it literally is like a quadruple decked restaurant built into the cliffs overlooking Lake Travis. And we were there for the sunset as it dips over. And, really nice stuff around there.
Yeah.
Like great little getaway for sure.
Sounds like a wonderful time, man.
Actually,
I'm glad you had fun.
Randomly, though, John listened to last week's episode, apparently like the whole thing.
Oh.
And I don't think he'd listened since like episode 5 or whatever.
Oh.
And what did he text me? He texted me that he had legit LOL'd at the Teacher the Pirate moment.
Yeah, dude. That guy was insane.
Oh, it was fun. And then so Jeff has a Subaru, and he drove us, and we're checking out this Subaru all weekend because we're nerds. And he had all of his podcasts on like his in-dash whatever. And I scrolled through it, and we were on it.
Let's go.
Number 43. And then I found out he listens to us at 2 times. He's like, you guys talk a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. What does that sound like? So us at 2 times.
Oh, you mean he listens to us sped up? Like,
yes. He doesn't listen to us 2 times. He listens to us half the time.
Yeah. Dang. That's what's up.
Yeah. I was like, that's like rapid consumption, bro.
Yeah. I went out on Friday. We went out with like Gerald, George Rosa, and a couple people. And it got to the end of the night, and I was saying my goodbyes, and there was like a large group of people that I didn't know. It was kind of like a goodbye party for one of our friends, Ryan. But some dude, I was like, oh, hey, like, didn't meet, exchanged names. And he was like, oh yeah, I heard you got a podcast. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, that's awesome. I'm like, thanks, man. Like, just out of like, cause nobody in that group, I wouldn't imagine like talking about the podcast like that. So that was strange. That was cool.
There's definitely some strange moments.
Yeah. Anyway,
I always play it real low key, and I'm like, I would just like disregard. Like if you haven't listened,
well, I was like, thanks, man.
I don't need you to know. Like I'm bad at acquiring new listeners in certain ways, but I definitely do not want it to verbally become part of my personal boilerplate where like it does not define me or anything.
Yeah, because we come in here and talk about our personal lives, but we don't want to talk about this during our personal lives. Is that what you're getting at?
I don't want to ever be perceived as like plugging it or
like advertise, like marketing.
Like even this weekend, some shade was thrown just because it was 6 guys, and so what do we do? Like we
Yeah.
absolutely tear each other apart.
Hating on each other, yeah.
And somebody, it was probably a Jay or something, was like, whatever, you're just always plugging your stupid podcast. Like, and then I came back and I was able to say with all sincerity, like, dude, each show gets a maximum of like a tweet. You know what I mean? Like, and then somebody else said, that's true. And I was like, see, I don't want to over rally for something. Because that's how I feel like it could ever be successful. I think us just being chill about it and like not.
Yeah, just being the cool cats that we are, you know?
Like if we were like, yeah, if we were showing out too hard for it, it would be weird.
Yeah, we're not tryhards. But please sponsor us.
I am going to add it to my LinkedIn soon.
Oh, man. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy the Twitter advertisement.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. You
should.
Maybe.
I've promoted the show on my Instagram before just to get more likes, though.
Well, that's cool.
You think I'm lying?
Yeah, no. I mean, flaunt it if you got to. Do what you got to do.
Man, it's funny. Like, my IG game has just turned all the way around. Like, it was a slow
You went on this bachelor party and you shot like another music video.
Dude, that was the funny part. Like, Jay had the drone, and I was like, man, you're going to make me look like an a-hole over here, dude. Like, I have multiple drone weekends.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in water with drones, like, multiple weekends in multiple countries.
Ty Dolla $ign on the song or what?
Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, no, he did the tubing videos.
Yeah.
Awesome drone. He was able to fly that thing like 40 miles an hour, just skipping over the water. And so we got thrashed around. Yo, tubing, like my upper body is destroyed.
I don't think I can
my
tube
pecs
again.
Were so ripped. Like I don't mean like ripped pecs. I mean like my body was ripped. You could tell the muscles were just ripped in half everywhere. My triceps, my pecs.
Yeah,
it's the most intense thing you can do if you're not
I would
routinely
need
lifting weights.
Several days of recovery if I were to go tubing.
Today was the first day that I could do my golf club move over my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just too much.
All right. Let's get into some talking points.
Okay. Hit me. What's going on out there? Outside the classroom.
Apple's worth $2 trillion.
Yeah, that was one of the notes that I had.
Oh, wow.
I'm down to one.
You just went for the lowest hanging fruit, bro.
I saw it trending on Twitter.
Oh, my goodness.
Whenever I got here.
Do you do what I do and just hit Explore and CNN?
Yeah, I hit that trending.
Scrapage.
I hit that trending page. Yeah, okay, so I'll read it. Apple hit a market cap of $2 trillion today after becoming the first publicly traded U.S. company to reach a $1 trillion market valuation just over 2 years ago. So in the span of a little over 2 years ago, they've gained another trillion.
Nice.
I read that from my iPhone.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As we record into this Mac.
Right.
It's an Apple household.
Yeah, if Apple came out with mics, we'd be on it probably.
Well, they did with AirPods.
I mean, the AirPods.
Everybody on TV is on. I turn on Morning Drive on Golf Channel, and like everybody is using AirPods.
I do have the pros. We could switch to that.
Yo, it's been horrific on CNN with that Cisco WebEx. Like, there's been a hitch in their giddy up, and so there was this old man on there today, and his nose was coming out of his forehead. He was all glitching. No. He looked like a horror movie, and he's like trying to describe death and mayhem and COVID and disaster.
It's
and
like, yeah, you're selling it.
And his nose is coming out of his top of his bald head, and it was like freaky.
Jeez.
Yeah. Cray.
Yeah.
All right. So congrats to Apple.
Wow.
Tim Cook. Doing good things. Tim Apple.
Yeah. Stupid. Oh. Yeah. Would Steve Jobs be proud? Do you think he'd be proud of like the actual technology that they have today? I feel like I mean, no doubt with each new iPhone there's like technological advances and everything, but I always felt like it was a lot more of a big deal, like a huge presentation whenever he came about.
Technically, when you think about it, and I actually went back and watched, I think I mentioned this, some of his old product unveils and different things like that the other day. It's very inspiring when you're in that startup hustle to go look at especially Jobs is kind of like the holy grail
Right.
of, unveils and just methodologies of thought, speeches that he's given, and different things like that. They're paradigm shifting for sure. And when you think about it, Apple has revolutionized the hardware industry over several different iterations. Like when they introduced the Mac back in like the 80s or whenever, that was revolutionary.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really have a hit again until 2007 with the iPhone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
iPod. Yeah.
So back in the early 2000s or late 90s, they had the iPod, and that was their second big jewel in their crown. Fast forward to 2007, they introduced the iPhone.
Shout out to iPods first. I mean, I'm saying, like, I went from a SanDisk to an iPod. Like,
well, and it's really interesting because even
I went
for
to like
people
32 megabytes to 32 gigabytes.
People that hadn't experienced the technology knew enough from the ads and the design of the product to know that it was preferential. Because I remember my sister and I got MP3 players in our stockings or something like that for Christmas one year. And it was the year that the iPod had come out. Yeah. And we both went to the store and traded it in for store credit and bought iPods just from the commercials, just from the simplicity. Like it seemed built for us, and that was their second big hit, consumer market. Fast forward to 2007, they introduced the iPhone, and now they have all of those iterations. Yeah. But what they've leveraged in the interim with the App Store and now streaming and entertainment podcasts, they also have a big hit, in my opinion, with AirPods. I think AirPods should really be added to the Mount Rushmore of Apple products, the Apple product suite. In terms of like their prevalence, like you're when I see people with like cords on now, I'm like, oh, this peasant, like what's wrong with you?
And there's one other thing.
What?
The watch.
Oh yeah. I've never gotten behind that. I would love it for like the biometric data.
It's amazing.
But like, man, I'm trying to go on Do Not Disturb, man. That's why I'm trying to make this money. I want to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, put it in my golf bag, and
you can put your watch on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love it, dude. I mean, honestly, I've been using it a lot for the fitness stuff, and I know I've talked about that in the past. I talked to you, before we started recording today. As of this morning, I've officially lost
just had to throw it in there.
30 pounds, baby.
30 pounds.
Yeah, so I'm feeling all right.
225.
Sleek.
4640.
225. Still working. But I use the watch a lot throughout my exercises. I make sure that I get all the steps in, record my calories, or not calories, or calories burned, not how much I'm intaking, but just how much I'm working out and everything. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of it. And then also being a teacher, just being able, if I do get a text, being able to look down, make sure it's not an emergency or anything, and then continue teaching without looking at my phone. Love that aspect of it. So anyway, Apple, they've earned it.
Yeah.
Back to the iPod, man. I went from like, I can put a whole Green Day album on this thing. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's crazy just looking back on, where we were in our lives and, wanting superior products and what that's meant for Apple's market cap and just the billions in cash reserves that they have. And I'm sure somebody's on the take at some point, but I appreciate their dedication to privacy. And like when the DOJ was coming after them, like unlock this terrorist's phone, like they shipped an update and they were like, oh snap, we can't even get into the phone now.
Right.
And you got to respect that. Like, I really appreciate that. Google does not have the same level of intensity for your security and privacy and all of those different things. I don't want to get into the whole, I don't want to testify.
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole this episode?
Not really. Just to know that I'm on the other side of it as a software vendor, where it's like people want to experience everything as though they've given it all of their information and integrated it, but they don't want to do any of that. And it's like, all right, well then how are we going to show you? Yeah. Like, so there's a little bit of, if you check in somewhere and post a photo and then you're mad that Facebook knows where you were. Well, how do you think that worked? Like, come on.
Right.
So I think the majority of that is gum flapping by dumb people, middle America in some ways. And honestly, the geriatric senators that are on those panels that interview those people and can't understand location services and Wi-Fi calling and just some of the basic rudimentary things that the phones use to connect you to the world. Anyway, neither here nor there. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
In other news about market caps and sales and all of this, Lowe's had a bust out quarter.
Yeah.
They were up like 30% or something.
What do they attribute that to?
Like everybody not going on vacation and renovating their homes.
Yeah, dude, my mom's
fixing up home offices.
My mom's renovating right now. I know Courtney's parents are always renovating. I believe it.
I feel like if
those home projects,
if you were working from home, that honey-do list, you were just more proximate to it. Like that you were when you use your home as thoroughly as like I had a call today. We got on. And this girl was like, I'm so sorry, but my internet is going to be shaky. She's like, my dad and my brother and myself are all working like commercial big boy and girl jobs, like using our little tiny home Wi-Fi. So they're in the rooms next to me. And I was like, goodness gracious, like I could not deal.
Insane.
And so many people are doing that. When you put a home through strain, where it's like everybody's showering and then everybody's eating every meal here and tethering off the Wi-Fi and also doing remote learning, there's just more wear and tear. It's more miles on the tires of your AC, not to mention the fact that it's been 188 degrees here in the DFW and Texas markets.
Yeah, I'm ready for the temp to drop, man.
You ready for layer? I'm about to get like literally 3 points hotter the minute I can layer, because when I can start putting on my puffer vest or a nice little jacket,
October, man,
when I layer up, it's over. It's
Game over. Yeah, don't make me bust out the sweater.
Little short shorts and nothing else on a paddleboard. Not my best look, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, nah, you probably look all right.
Yeah, that was really convincing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, nah, you'd be fine.
All right, so I have a proposition for you.
Okay.
Let's take a break and then come back.
We'll be back.
All right, folks, and we're back. I wanted to avail Brad of the plan for the next segment in the show. We've gotten some listener-submitted questions that just wanted to take some time to workbook real quick individually and then come back to the show. So, Mr. B-Rad, the first question.
Okay.
How do you determine what you share on the podcast?
Well, if we're talking about things from my personal life, it's typically something that I've already told my family or my close friends, because once it's on here, it's out there. But just little milestones. I feel like our listeners, for the most part, are people that genuinely care about our lives, and so this is always a nice platform for me to get on and just kind of share that with all of my close people that I may not see every single day or anything like that. And then as far as other content, I guess like in the media, it's just these crazy stories that kind of catch my eye. Obviously, I talk a lot about music and a lot about rap and different things like that. And it may not whet the appetite of a lot of our listeners, but it's something that I find interesting just for my love of music. So I know I'm always trying to slide some of those stories in. Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird barometer because I'm not consistent with it. Like I'm very like in terms of like religion. I was going to say politics, religion, and her, but you know exactly what's gone on with my religious life in many ways. If you listen to the show, and I like to discuss politics, but I don't always really tell you where I stand on. Like there's a level of masking, so to speak, with certainly politics, romance. I'm never gonna share a legitimate ongoing concern with an individual or
right.
If I just got into a fight with some, like I'm never gonna share anything like that. I'm always gonna protect myself and other individuals that are in ongoing situations.
Yeah, I think I don't know if we've even mentioned it on here, but you and I, like, we always show up, or I show up here, and we talk about, like, okay, what's off the record, like because you and I, we still have that level of friendship where we confide in each other, and we don't necessarily share everything
Yeah,
on
we
here.
got layers, folks. Like,
Yeah,
this is one slice of the onion
right.
that we're sharing with you, but it's even deeper when we're alone.
Yeah, some things
That was so
some things
weird.
are sacred.
Some things we don't record.
Yeah. Okay.
No, so in many ways I think about, what if I'm 50 years old or somebody else is listening to this, and
Hmm.
yeah, I think about my consumption of Rogan or podcasts that have hundreds and hundreds of episodes
Yeah.
over the span of years, and you kind of want it to be timeless in a certain way.
Hmm.
And so I keep some of my personal life in some ways, like, even though it's hard because on the one hand, it's like I kind of tell you what I do most of the days,
Yeah.
but I don't always tell you about everything in that day.
Right.
I give you
You allude
the
to
high
it.
note.
Yeah.
It's like Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
work,
Right.
check, covered there.
Yeah, you don't always. I don't know. Maybe until you see it through, you don't always want to just get on here and talk about your problems and, like, what's going on immediately until you sort things out yourself.
I've always kind of been a person. Here's a part where I'll divulge. Like, you tell me your take on this afterwards, but
Hit me.
I forgot the original point. Shoot.
No, I was just saying we don't always divulge, like, what we're going through, and that, like, as we're going through it.
I've always been a person that kind of is reclusive when pressed into a corner or stressed, which is a lot of the time, and very singularly focused, typically on work. Have struggled with life prioritization strategies in that area historically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always found myself wanting to be reclusive in my bad moments or my dark moments, and then coming back and entering the group whenever I've got a yarn to spin or a good story to tell. And I think that some of my friends that know me really well would know that and have even, like, vouched for me in those moments. Like, I remember Shelly telling someone sometime, like, hey, don't get mad at Carson. Like, you know how he is when stuff is going on, just because I had been uncommunicative for like a month, several years, like different things like that. So, yeah, but this podcast has made me, first of all, it makes you want to step up and do things that are worth discussing, or that you would want to put out as content, I guess.
Like, we don't, I don't know, like, do I go out of my way in order to have a story for this, or, like,
not at all.
You want it to be interesting, but also, like, we also do it just to do it because, we want to be enjoying ourselves. But it is
I've never once done something so that I could talk about it on the show. Right. But then it's just always a double whammy because it's like, oh, and I get to talk about this on the show. Yeah, so like that's great. Perk. Yeah. It's also just like a global catch up for things. Oh, by the way, shout out to Shelly Belly. She and I had a conversation maybe a month ago. Mm-hmm. I had done an outbound phone call from my phone to her phone, which was not happening enough. And I was like, yo, we got to get better about this. And she was like, I know, I just feel like I get so caught up with you and Brad every single week that, like, I'm fulfilled. Like, like, I know what's going on. Like, no need to talk to Carson. And I was like, yeah, but your podcast is not, being downloaded on my phone for some reason. So
weird.
I need to build this bridge back. And so shout out to her, because last Thursday, like midday, she called me. She always calls me at the most random times that somehow work. And I pick up the phone, and she's starting to allude to something that I think had been discussed on the show.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, did you listen to the show? Or she said, no, I started to. And I said, before I got too far into this, I'm going to call Carson and just catch up with him for a second before,
Love that.
So I was like, wow, it was very touching, actually.
That's really nice. I
Yeah.
like that.
I forget how we got on that, but never once done anything for the gram for the show.
Yeah.
I've
But
done
it's
more for the gram than the show. I'll
yeah.
tell you that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Well, I mean, we can get into why.
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Okay, that's the part that we don't divulge.
It's episode 45.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's strategy. I told you, I think I said this on the show, that when you travel alone, Instagram is a way to reinforce the global community around you that does care about you and wants to see your stuff. And, you post it for yourself too. People always, like, I wear cologne even when I work from home because it's for me.
Right.
I want to smell that. So do everything for you. It's a single player game.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, that was a cute question.
Keep going until game over,
Yeah. So the second question was, how has the show changed your time management? I'll start this off just by saying that I look forward to Wednesday every week, but by the time Wednesday rolls around, I'm like, wow, it's already Wednesday?
Yeah.
Like, it's a reminder. Like, if you haven't closed a deal that week, it's like, man, it's Wednesday night, son. Like, get on your horse because it's a downhill roller coaster ride from here.
Yeah, definitely. I also look forward to it, and it's like you definitely plan around it. People are like, "Oh, can you get dinner?" It's like, Wednesday night, like I'm booked. Yeah, it's just something that we both look forward to. How do I manage, or what does that do to my time management? Obviously, as most weeks, I set aside time to gather my thoughts and really try to focus on some of the short stories that I'll be sharing. And then other weeks, it's me sitting on your couch 5 minutes before we start recording and looking at stuff. So I try to manage, the time and do justice for the show as much as possible. But obviously life does get in the way sometimes. And then you just get me on here talking about how busy, it was setting up my classroom and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I find I never envision anything that's going to happen on the show or how I'm going to typically, I mean, some of the stories, it's funny if I tell you a really good story in my personal life before I tell it on the show, sometimes I'll just joke. I'll be like, hey, let me try this out on you before I go live with it. Like, just as a joke, because I say that people know me to like work on different bits sometimes, like, or say something stupid or well timed. And they'll be like, oh, we're not the first people that you try that out on, know?
Yeah.
Just in terms of time management, like, I think it reinforces the concept of a weekly sprint. Like, sometimes if you do something in a month, it's a feat, but what are you getting done on a week by week basis? And for me, professionally, it's a big kick in the pants. It's a big reminder that, you work so hard all day, and at the same time, the month goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And this is one of those weird months that I don't think that the first Monday of the month was even until the 3rd or the 4th. And just the way that it falls on the weekends, you really only got like 3 or 4 weeks this month to get everything in. So just always a sprint. I mean, I feel like nobody wants to hear about 90% of my week where it's like Monday through Friday, it's grinding, hustling hard. I'd like to divulge more. I try to do what I can high level. You can ask me anything. You can interview me at any point.
Okay, good to know.
Like, and that way I can kind of think like, oh, that's something I could share or not about like work or whatever.
Well, so if we're talking about like what we divulge on the podcast, like, so you being super businessman and closing certain deals, like, how do you know, like, where do you draw the line in what you share as far as work goes and like what you've been working on?
I think that the real test there is they have full access to listen to this show just like anybody else does. And for all I know, a well-researched person, if they were looking into me, that would be something that I would evaluate or at least click through to see, okay, how many, sometimes I see somebody has a podcast and I'm like, let me go see. And then if you have like four or five episodes over the last 3 years and one's 10 minutes and one's an hour and a half, like, you don't have a whole lot of credibility in my head. But when you get to dozens, hundreds of episodes. Like when my dad had his podcast and he'd done like 100 episodes, 150 episodes, 200 episodes, I was like, goodness gracious, man, this is like the Andy Griffith show, like going into syndication.
Right.
This is ridiculous. I think he capped out at like 209 episodes.
That's awesome.
I was like, that is a trough of like nothing but CEO wisdom, founder wisdom. Except for the time I was on, just over the years. And funny enough, he actually had some diamonds in the rough before their time. Like he had Alto. I think, is it
Alto? The shoes?
No. Oh. The ride sharing company in Dallas.
Oh.
Yeah. You've probably seen their ads. You've definitely seen their cars. And I remember him telling me like, oh yeah, I had like a Uber competitor on. And I was like, oh yeah, call me when that goes somewhere. Well, they've raised like tens of millions of dollars. Yeah. They're all over. The big media buys, like raise more money. So what did I know there? I see them all the time. They're heavily in use and have a cool new business model and are probably going to thrive more in COVID than Uber certainly has, because they like employ their people full time with benefits, and like they own the cars, their managed fleet. Like it's more of a subscription service that sounds nice for daily commuters and different people like that. Also, I saw today on LinkedIn, I believe that he had the CEO of this company on. It was really funny because the CEO of this company was on his show. And I think I also met him in a parking lot with a mutual contact. Shout out to Dennis Damon, he's kind of been a partial mentor in certain areas, and just a big in business. But totally peer relation. Like he makes it a peer relationship, but have always had a lot of respect for him. I know our friend Heston has as well. We've shared contacts and networking events and just looked out for each other over the years. So Fetch Package, they raised like an $18 million Series A today or something.
Dang.
And my dad had that CEO on. So there's all these like companies that are, either something big has happened after the show or before the show. Like it's just been interesting. But yeah, when you get to those numbers, the track record.
I think for me, like my dream or the thing that I envision is like kind of like the musical artist that I brought on. Like I'm not, it may not hold a candle to bringing on a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company or whatever, but like I wholeheartedly believe in all the friends that I brought on to the podcast who shared some of their songs, and like how awesome would that be to have housed them and gave them their flowers before anybody else,
Well, and arguably the reach of an artist that could blow up would be far greater than one of these regional CEOs of a company, So there's always that hope and promise.
True.
Like, when you started licensing music and doing all of that for the summer session, you're dealing with agents and like, dude, you had your foot into Hollywood.
Yeah. Shout out to BMG. Yeah, and I'm super low key. I'm dabbling in a couple other things, but we'll talk about that off air, and then maybe share it in the months to come or something.
Off the record, folks.
Yeah.
Dope. So did we finish answering that question?
Yeah, time management, making time.
Okay. On to the next prompt. Moving on with the show. All right, let's talk sports for a little while.
Okay.
MLB, I feel like there's a lot to talk about with MLB.
Hit me.
Okay, so first of all, did you see the Rangers playing the Padres this week? So I guess that we were down I don't even know. We were down like 7-3, and then Fernando Tatis comes up and hits a homer, and it's 10-3, and it's like the 8th inning. Our pitcher is like messing up, and Fernando Tatis is at bat. Bases are loaded, and he gets a 3-0 count. So 3 balls, 0 strikes. And apparently there's this unwritten rule in baseball that, especially with the bases loaded, you're up by that many after the 6th inning. you never would swing on a 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got a strike over the middle of the plate, so he just went ahead and hit the grand slam.
Great.
No, it was 14-3. And so things got heated, and they brought in a new pitcher, and he immediately threw behind the back.
Oh, boy.
And so
how are you going to get heated whenever it's like 14-3? Like, at that point, like, just have fun.
No, man, those guys get riled still, and I love the fact that they hate each other sometimes.
Yeah.
I feed off of that. Like, it's so stupid. It's laundry. It's like, I have a contract with the team that wears this laundry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick up for them. But if you've played together for a long time, you could also see the emotional connection there. But the minute you put on that jersey and you have a team, you have a group, and it's hammer versus nail, you're trying to hammer away. So anyway,
I respect that.
He hit the grand slam. It was like the talk of the sports world the next day. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
The Rangers manager is like suspended as well as the
really?
pitcher. Yeah.
Like got that heated?
Yeah, he got ejected, and now I think he's suspended as well.
Dang.
But in other news, I hear MLB just might crater. Like, they've talked about canceling the season, and apparently there's going to be asterisks in people. Like, baseball has so many asterisks at this point, but they're saying, like, some of the if you had 20 players on a team that came down with COVID and they had to be quarantined, you're basically like a AAA ball club at that point. Like, there's so many stand-ins that they're like, are these standings even reflective of what's occurring?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dang, that's tough. Yeah, the Rangers, could turn into the Round Rock Express. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they have been for
well,
since Ron Washington was here.
Yeah. Man. Football news?
Yeah, there's some.
You hear anything about the XFL?
No.
No?
What's up with that?
The Rock purchased the XFL, or he's now a co-owner of it, and apparently he's going to try to revive it and bring it back.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
What a big cash cow that's going to be for him.
Yeah.
He's the type of person that if he were to get involved, that would lend a lot of credibility.
Dude,
to
and
the XFL.
he already has a deal with like Under Armour, so I'm sure that'll work its way in.
It's not like they go to him and they say, Rock, can we pay you to do this? He's structuring the deal.
Yeah.
He's like, who else is involved? Who else can I get involved that I'm already involved with? He's taken ownership stakes. He's taken back end. He is probably, he's got to be worth, what, hundreds of millions of dollars?
Yeah, certainly, for all the stuff that he owns, plus all his movie. Like, Fast and Furious franchise is one of the highest grossing franchises ever. So he's well off just because of those.
Yeah, he's got paychecks coming in from everywhere. Okay, well, that's all you know about XFL?
Yeah, that's all that's been reported so far.
Okay, well, that's big news,
but
though.
There's a plan for a revival.
So NFL is set to kick off September 10 with fans. Booyah, go America.
Mm-hmm.
However, I guess people like the KC Chiefs are to have 22% capacity in the stands. I think Jerry Jones was saying that the Dallas Cowboys would have pods of like 10 or 15 people, kind of similar to the concert scenario that you were describing, which, again, I think in some ways, if you can get enough people in a particular section where you could still do the wave with some amount of, regularity, I think it would be even more enjoyable. It's going to force you to have more friends to go with. But
right. Yeah, man. And I can't imagine if they're at lower capacity. I'm sure those tickets are mad expensive.
Yeah, they're probably all scalped at like $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
You basically can't get in that stadium with an actual seat for less than several $100s.
Right.
Yeah. In other news, so are the Washington Redskins now the Washington football team for this year?
That is correct.
So they hired the first black president of an NFL team in NFL history.
Okay.
So shout out to the Washington football team.
Yeah,
because that's something real.
Yeah, that's
and mad respect for taking the name down. I think the Washington football team is kind of cool, actually. I think that it's almost like an urban myth, like it's like a cultural thing.
So I'll say I think it's cool as long as they do well. Like
I hope they don't do well.
If they I know, neither do I. But if they get trashed, then like the name is the joke too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's kind of how it's
almost
it's going to be
folklore
kind of
thing.
how they define themselves and carry themselves. Like if they're really hot, then Washington football team, all,
But
all the respect.
the greater good was served in that the fact that the NFL thrives on black culture.
Mhm.
Without black culture, you don't have the NFL. You don't have black guys, you don't have the NFL.
Sure.
So the fact that there's never been a black president is kind of ridiculous
Yeah.
when you think about it. Like ever of all the teams of 30 options for the last 50 to 100 years, no black person has ever held that position.
Yeah,
So
that's wild.
That does seem like
that is a huge milestone.
That does seem like better representation. I mean, hey, 1 of 30, diversity, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
As far as the Dallas Mavericks go, they lost their Monday night game, first playoff game. Porzingis got a tech, like it was a stupid technical foul that the refs called. And it basically, I don't know. I want to say it was like a turning point in the game. The Mavs were hanging in there, and even like Dirk Nowitzki, LeBron, and several other like high-profile NBA players said that the call was BS and were pretty upset about it. And so I just kind of thought that was interesting. Like the Mavs were holding their own. And they've been really exciting to watch. Like Luka, he keeps breaking records as like the youngest player to get so and so amount of points consecutively, and different things like that.
Well, that's what it's all about, baby. Scoring points and losing games.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but they play the Clippers again tonight. So hopefully they do well. But they're a fun team to watch, man. They're a young team, but they're fun.
I've seen a lot of NBA news coming out that people are not enjoying watching what's going on in the bubble. And my favorite NBA news to come out of the last week was it's looking like LA Fitness at 3:00 right now.
Dude, good. So good.
Oh, for those that don't know, there was a sequence in a game between who I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. But they missed, like, the teams cumulatively went up and down the court like 4 or 5 times.
The amount of down and backs, missed shots, and turnovers was insane.
The announcer goes, "Man, it's looking like LA Fitness at 3:00 right now." And the funniest part was the other announcers genuinely losing their announcer face.
Yeah,
they lost their announcer cool. They lost that facade, and they just threw their heads back and laughed, and it was so funny.
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
Oh, good times.
Hilarious. It's looking like LA Fitness at 3:00 right now.
Oh,
I retweeted it. I think the show did too.
Yeah. I think maybe I just liked it, but as far one of the cool record breakers that Luka did recently was on Monday night's game. That was his playoff debut. And so he has the most points in a playoff debut in NBA history at 42 points. So I thought that was really cool.
Dope.
Yeah. I mean, still got to get the dub, but I guess it doesn't matter if they ended up losing, but silver linings.
Yes, and in brief but glorious PGA Tour update news, the FedEx Cup playoffs begin this week at Northern Trust in Boston, where Tiger Woods will be teeing it up, as well as the world's best 125 golfers in the FedEx Cup standings.
That sounds amazing.
I also will be teeing it up at Tennyson Glen. I will be looking to shoot an 89 or a 99. It's my first time to tee it up.
Are you going to pretend
Mexico.
Are you going to pretend like you're in the tournament and just kind of get in the zone and pretend like you're brushing shoulders with Mr. Woods?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm going to pretend like I'm a pretty subpar golfer out on a weekend for the first time in a little while.
Pretend?
No, I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
I'm going to play golf. That will be what will be happening.
Got it.
So thank you for that.
No, you've made great strides.
Thanks.
Like your stroke game is just
I shaved a full
crazy.
150 strokes off my game.
Yeah.
So we have a couple Trump headlines that are pretty funny. Congrats to women, 100 years of voting.
Shout out.
How'd you do it? Trump pardoned Susan B. Anthony today.
Shout out.
or yesterday or whenever. She was in trouble with the law
Okay.
for trying to vote.
Yeah. Well, shout out Trump.
He's just like, sir, what injustices can we do, right? 100 years later.
It's like there are living people that could probably use your help, but
he asked, even though he doesn't believe in cancel culture, he asked us to cancel Goodyear because they asked people to stop wearing MAGA hats or they wouldn't let their employees or something like that. And so then the press took a photo of him in, the big motorcade.
Sure.
What do they call it? The Beast or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it has Goodyear tires on it. So there's a perfect photo of him and Melania like with flash on, and the Goodyear is illuminated.
Yeah.
And so regrettable moment for our fearless leader.
Yeah, those are few and far between, right?
Yeah. It's great content, man. Like following his life on Twitter is hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah, it is. And that's just not what I want from a president. I don't want it to be that comical.
Yeah, well, it will be for other reasons if it goes the other way. We're in the Democratic National Convention right now.
Oh, yes.
Biden, it'll just be like, where am I?
Yeah. Did we talk about the VP choice last week?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Since then, Rush Limbaugh called her a hoe, and it was front page news. And then I thought back, I'm like, well, shoot, I kind of did too. But a lot of people actually called her record into account.
The question,
that story that I shared about how she got her political start has been referenced on many podcasts since our show.
I mean, that's typically how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, just trend setting.
You heard it here first.
But there's not a good egg in the race in some ways, because when you think about it, you're opposing Trump for all the reasons that you're opposing him for. So meanwhile, over here you have Biden, who has allegations against him. You have Kamala, who has one of the shakiest, like she's a cop, man. In a culture that's going anti-cop, she's a cop and a half. And there's a show with some lawyers that work for like the Get Them Out of Jail Fund or whatever that were on Rogan recently, and they did a review of like her, and they said, first of all, we're both voting for Biden because anything is better than Trump. That said, if you really want to know the nuts and bolts of Kamala Harris, the prosecutor, it's dark, and it is dark. Like people spent years longer languishing away in prison on wrongful convictions. She wouldn't let them access their DNA samples, like testing. It was not a good picture. Also,
happy voting.
They're in the Democratic National Convention, and who was on the stage last night? Billy Clinton.
Yeah.
What comes out the day before? The Daily Mail exposes a picture of one of the Jeffrey Epstein accusers giving Bill Clinton a back rub. So,
but we already knew that he was affiliated with.
But we've never seen a picture.
Okay, that's fair.
We've never seen a picture of any accuser putting hands on the accused.
Yeah.
Okay. Even the whole like Bill Clinton in a dress with the heels on, it was a painting. It was like a watercolor technically.
Yeah.
It was very lifelike, almost as though he'd been posing like that.
Right.
But this is the first like photographic evidence. It's like the Prince Andrew with the main girl, one of the main accusers that's been on all the documentaries. That picture, that's what adds so much more legitimacy.
Right, and I believe the legitimacy, but is anything going to happen?
Well, my main point is that you're thinking that you're voting the virtue card by voting Democrat. Meanwhile, you've got Biden, Kamala Harris, Bill Clinton is endorsing them and saying we got to get Trump out of office. Meanwhile, by many counts, even if you believe some of the allegations against Trump of like some sort of sexual impropriety, Bill Clinton's crimes are far greater if what's implicated there.
Yeah.
Like nobody.
But hasn't it been implicated that Trump has been rolling around with Epstein or no?
No, like they knew each other. They had homes in the same neighborhoods, both in, Florida as well as New York, because, billionaires tend to flock together in terms of home values,
But he's not one of the ones that like chilled on the island.
He broke away.
Okay.
I think that he found out that Epstein was into really young girls, and I think that there was a situation that went down where he was banned from Mar-a-Lago, moving forward.
Okay.
But he knows them. But I think we all know, even with the Ivanka talk, I don't think anybody really in their right mind has ever thought of Trump as a pedophile of any kind. Sure. He's a prick and a pig and a misogynist with of-age girls, porn stars, prostitutes, whatever, mail order brides. I saw a great meme that was like, you don't believe in mail-in ballots, but you believe in mail order brides.
Yeah, are we going to talk about the post office?
Yeah, let's get to it.
Hit me.
What's going on with the post office?
Well, I feel like they've all, like, several of them have been locked up or taken away. I saw I don't know. You don't know anything going on with them? Because
I feel like there's been so many back and forth updates. Was Trump saying the post office shouldn't be used for mail-in ballots?
Yeah, and he did, and then he said he tweeted out like save the post office or something the other day, and it's like, you're the one that's causing all the damage, it seemed like. Let's see, there was a delivery slowdown, they had a change in policy. Man, I don't know. You saying mail-in ballots?
Something to do with the mail sorting machines.
Yeah.
House GOP leaders just informed lawmakers that they'll be formally whipping against the Dems USPS bill per sources on the conference call. Pelosi keeps up post office pressure. Let's see if we can get a real article to explain this for us so that we quit wasting your time, Tots.
Well, we can research, talk about it more.
Like,
next
how's
week.
your time management? Meanwhile, people are like, why am I listening to this? Jeff's like, go to 3X. Michael called out he was like, I love your running thread about whenever I address Heather, like head on.
Oh, yeah.
Just like every 12th episode, he's like, I
Yeah.
love that callback. And I'm like, only you would know.
That's our girl.
That callback, what that skill is.
Yeah.
Okay.
President Trump said that he is deliberately underfunding the postal service in order to make it more difficult to vote by mail in an August 13th interview on Fox Business Network. Today, he is attempting to blame Jeff Bezos' flagship company for his own unpopular plan to starve the post office. So that's basically what's going on. Trump admitted to trying to sabotage the mail-in ballots.
Okay.
Yep.
He's such a big bad man.
I mean, I don't think
I don't know
that's
going on
right
with that.
if he's trying to shut him down.
Meanwhile, Goodyear responds to calls for boycotts over reports of zero tolerance policy. The tire manufacturer released a statement on Wednesday challenging a photo leaked to the press alleging to reveal a new company policy permitting BLM materials in the workplace while prohibiting politically affiliated forms of expression. The visual in question was not created or distributed by Goodyear Corporate, the company added. President Trump responded to initial reports on Wednesday by calling for a boycott of Goodyear products. So there's a screenshot of zero tolerance. It's a PowerPoint slide. It has acceptable on one column, unacceptable on the other column. In the acceptable category, this is supposed to be internal Goodyear collateral. Acceptable, Black Lives Matter, BLM, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender pride, LGBT. Under unacceptable is Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, MAGA attire, political affiliated slogans or material.
Dang.
Well, you know what that tells me, though?
What?
It's like the Democrats don't have a slogan. It's like, I see things differently. I don't see things from like, oh, what should it be? I'm like, what's it going to be?
Yeah.
You know, like, get ready for that. And like, these people don't see what the real weapons are. The fact that you guys don't have a slogan, like Democrats, I'm not saying, you may not agree with MAGA, but MAGA, you brand it, baby. Like, get behind each other. Like, geez, I feel like they would have had a better shot with Bernie in a brandable situation and actually standing for something. Like, But yeah, I don't view that. I don't care what Goodyear said. Like, don't wear your MAGA hat to work if you have one.
Mm-hmm.
Only wear it to like a socially distanced picnic with your white relatives or something, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that that's a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that that simple act of like, he just went on to forimprint.com and made a little stencil cutout, make America great again. And then he sold 85 million of those things. And they became a cultural icon, a branding icon, a source of serious contention, and just the make America great again. What a stupid like it's such a simple thing, and everybody loved it. It was so simple and straightforward, but it worked.
Yeah. And
it's about to work again.
Well, I don't
There's
think
going to be blood in the streets.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the Democrats went with the wrong choice again, man. Like, how hard is it? How many people are in this world?
They have a really wide coalition
US
at the moment, even in terms of like their lawmakers. Like, you have everybody from a Joe Manchin in center left all the way to like an AOC and the Squad.
I'm just thinking,
it's a big tent for them.
In what world is Joe Biden the best opposing politician?
No president has ever whipped an entire party. Excuse me. No president has ever whipped an entire party into a small foldable tent in terms of like, just rallying for one another in the main cause more than Trump.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been party consolidation to this point. And I don't actually think it's healthy. I think that these people that are just yes men that respond, like whatever he did, they defend, I think is so stupid. That's why I kind of like Scaramucci, because he was like, listen, I know that he said that. Let me paraphrase, like he was kind of more realistic about stuff.
Right. And I can respect that. Yeah. For me, words are everything, and the way that it's phrased. Yeah, I mean, we've gone on record saying that it's not like I agree or disagree with all of Trump's policies, but yeah, just, I don't know. I just think I still think there are way better people for the job. I just don't know who or where they are.
A message from Goodyear to our customers, partners, and associates. Yesterday, Goodyear became the focus of a conversation that created some misconceptions about our policies and our company. For those not aware, a widely circulated image sparked a strong reaction, and we wanted to take the opportunity to provide some important context to the visual in our policies. First, the visual in question was not created or distributed by Goodyear Corporate, nor was it part of a diversity training class. Duh, that's in bold. To be clear on our longstanding corporate policy, Goodyear has zero tolerance for any forms of harassment or discrimination. To enable a work environment free of those, we ask that associates refrain from workplace expressions in support of political campaigning for any candidate or political party, as well as similar forms of advocacy that fall outside of the scope of racial justice and equity issues. When you can call the opposing party's brand discriminatory, I don't know. We need to go back to the 50s where you didn't talk about politics and religion. Now it's all we talk about, and we're given social media tools at our fingertips to broadcast whatever we think, even though we could have evolved and thought differently a month down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And you're more well-spoken in this area, but people's emotions and people's, beliefs, how can you say like that shouldn't be a part of it, but at the same time it's like, I'm Christian, you're Muslim, you're atheist, like we should all still have a common goal to be working toward. And so as far as like separation of church and state, like as far as that goes, then I agree with that. It's like we should all just be focusing on the betterment of our country and, making sure that we have jobs for everybody and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be a tumultuous rest of the year, to say the least.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a combination of things police acquittals, a Trump reelection,
What?
the strain of coronavirus and going back to school, and how people are handling that in different ways.
We're capping off this year with the elections. Like 2020.
I mean, we impeached him at the beginning of the year, and they're going to reelect him at the end of the year. I mean, it's too much, man. Like, I saw a study the other day put out by somebody that 1 in 4 people between the ages of like even 18 and 24 have thought about suicide during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, goodness gracious.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard times. Like, if you're in a funk and you don't have a handle on certain things, like I can definitely see how, social distancing and not having certain things to get you through the day, or losing a job, like if you don't have a handle on that, I'm sure it's tough.
In the latest news, Ye refuses to do Zooms with one person if I have their contact. I've got another idea. It's called FaceTime.
Dude, he was talking about Jesus Talk yesterday.
Jesus Talk.
Are you familiar with TikTok?
Oh, I did see that one.
Yeah.
He's lost it.
He said, oh, there's too much explicit content on TikTok. We need a Jesus Talk. I'm like, okay.
I don't think everything he says is genius.
No, not at all. Like, that's why he was better, like, disappearing while he was making albums and being secluded, and then just coming out with brilliant music. But the more he talks, the more it's just like, it cheapens him.
Holy crap. Uber and Lyft say they may shut down California rides at 12:01 a.m. on Friday. If so, they plan to keep cars off the road until at least November, when voters weigh in on Proposition 22.
Well, there goes a lot of jobs right there.
Oh my goodness. This is crazy.
Yeah.
What's your take on forced shutdown and constitutionality of that, and church can't meet up, and what are you hearing now that you're back at school and like around your teacher compadres and the church?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Like, a lot of schools are doing different things, like even under the Adventist umbrella. Like, my stepmom teaches at Burton, and she's like, yeah, I have to wear a mask the whole time. And I'm like, even if you're 6 feet away? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you can't even wear like a face like guard, like a protective shield. And she's like, we can for like 2 minutes while we take a break from a mask, and then we have to put our mask back on and then put the shield over our mask. And I'm like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose. And so as far as like what I'm seeing within the church, like it's really just a institution by institution, school by school type of deal, and we're all just trying to figure out the best options. And yeah, as far as like companies shutting down and everything for safety, like, I mean, I can't say I don't understand it. Like, you don't, as far as school goes, like, I want all of our students to be as safe as possible. And there are certain reservations that I have and certain worries that I have whenever, we talk about all of our students being back at the school and having to monitor it. It's like during lunchtime, they're taking their masks off to eat. And if enough of them are in the same classroom, it's like, does that to me, that completely defeats the purpose of wearing a mask, because you just had it off for 30 minutes while you were eating amongst your peers. And so why are we wearing a mask the rest of the day? Because the damage has already been done, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how you can like wear it certain places and then not at other places. And the fact that you can remove it on a plane to ingest food and drink is like, it's like, okay. I saw a fight almost go down because of that, but it's like people are very to the letter. I walked into work the other day. I was out walking at lunch, and I had sunglasses and a mask on, and so I mistakenly took the mask off in front of the front desk guy, Mason, and he just looked at me and he's like, wrong order, buddy. And I'm like, whoops. And so I take the sunglasses off, put the mask back on, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, unprecedented times, but we'll all figure it out.
We'll try. In other news, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion give away $1 million for a women empowerment party
Shout out.
for women everywhere.
That's that WAP money.
So bring your bucket and your mop because there's $1 million.
Oh man, speaking of music, I don't even know if anybody that listens to this cares, but Nas is coming out with a new album. I'm super hype about it. One of the all-time greats, one of the legends. So, looking forward to hearing a new album from him. I'm not really sure about any other music coming out. But
I'm telling you, now that the pandemic is affecting the arts and like people realize like we're not going to get new episodes of The Bachelor in real life.
Yeah.
Or, Impractical Jokers has been doing these stupid Zoom calls. Like, not interested. All of these shows that are social distanced. Like, I think Late Night has taken a severe hit.
Yeah.
That show is difficult to replicate, except for some of the guys like Hassan Minaj, and they canceled that. That's other news.
That's heartbreaking.
I don't understand. And he was very gracious about it on Twitter. Like, I didn't realize it had been going for 7 seasons.
We just talked about his show.
Yeah, I'm like, check it out.
A week or two ago.
Man, we are so futuristic. It's like
Honestly.
we predict bad things happening.
Yeah, but Hassan Minaj, like those episodes are worth going back and listening to, and also his stand-up special. I have fallen in love with. Like it's one of my all-time favorites. Just him talking about his life growing up and everything. So Hassan Minaj, Homecoming King, or also check out his now I guess canceled show on Netflix. But there's definitely some gems, and I don't know. He gives you a lot to think about whenever it comes to politics, religion, branding, different stuff like that.
Did you see all the controversy with the My Pillow guy this week?
No, what?
Do you know who the My Pillow guy is?
Is that the My Pillow that looks like little animals, or it's like a comfy pillow? Maybe
it's a comfy pillow.
I'm thinking of Pillow
like,
Pets.
I'm Mike Lindell with My Pillow.
Yeah.
And he's always like hugging the pillow. Yeah. And then he's like putting the couple in bed. Like
is he like a weird dude?
He's kind of weird. He was on Anderson Cooper getting roasted this week because he basically joined the board of a company that did some trial experiments for a medicine back in 2016 that they think could work for COVID. And so he got on their board, and then he took it mainstream and like used his media. Like he called Ben Carson, Secretary of Urban Housing, and
gifted hands.
Yeah. That boy gifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's it's weird how we used to see him growing up as Adventist, and now to see him as like not a laughing stock, but like
definitely off kilter.
I loved his political campaign. I was like, this guy makes sense. He cracked me up too. But
anyway, like, dude,
the My Pillow guy called him, and like now it's like being fast tracked on the committee or something stupid. Okay. And he goes on Anderson Cooper, and he's just blindly claiming like this thing is going to save everyone. It's foolproof. They have 1,000 test patients in a peer-reviewed study. And Anderson was like, name the study, name the procedures. What study? Yeah. What university put it out? And he didn't have any of the answers. And it just ended up being this big thing that trended all week.
Yo, tell that dude to go take a nap. Tell him to go grab that pillow.
It's just
like take a break.
I'm fascinated by what would be otherwise normal businesses with normal business models that affiliate themselves with causes, movements, and political sides to sell more to that niche category.
Yeah.
Like there's a cell phone company called like Patriot Mobile, and they don't get those subsidies, and they're not giving to Planned Parenthood and Black Lives Matter like Singular is, or Sprint or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they advertise in those outlets.
Patriot? Why is it always
Patriot Mobile?
Why is it always?
But I'm telling you, man, they got payroll software for conservatives. I'm pretty sure. Like My Pillow,
like it.
My Pillow. He's spoken at CPAC. All of his products are machine washable and dryable and made in the USA. And they got a bunch of white people waving in the factory. And so he was able to produce masks for coronavirus with American hands and American factories and bring manufacturing back. Like they play into that whole thing. And so maybe it benefits their target demographic of old white people, but it's just fascinating to see. And I wonder, do they have the master code base and then Sprint's like, hey, go get these fringe audiences. Like, here's its own little code base. It's the same thing. Just go skin it with an eagle and red, white, and blue and be like, yeah, MAGA, and sell it to those wireless users. Yeah. And then they have like the Black Lives Matter version of it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna be sticking with Tempur-Pedic pillows.
All right. Yeah. I find that fascinating when you can reskin the same basic ingredients. It's like
people are definitely taking advantage.
It's all the same cake. It's just decorated and iced differently.
If you were in that position, like, would you also cater to that and try to capitalize on it? Like, if you are a business and you're trying to make that money, especially, during these COVID times, like, I'm not saying it's right. I can definitely see how companies like would want to take advantage of that, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm in a unique position to answer this because I am involved in the formation of, I'm an early stage investor in several companies, and I've been a co-founder of a company as well as, an early stage of employee of my existing company. And the answer is absolutely not. Like, that's short-sighted. Like, the startups that I've been involved in have this crazy, idiotic thought that this is for everybody, and everybody in the world one day will use this. And we're building for the mass population in both of those circumstances. So we would never go with a bald eagle and skin it for your average trucker Joe in Kansas, and not think of the French audience and the Indian audience and the fact that it needs to be available to everybody in every portion of the world.
So that makes complete sense to me. So why do you think companies who are like multi-million-dollar companies who don't need to do this, they don't need to cater, to this audience or this pandemic or anything like that? Like, what's the reasoning behind it if they already have capital? Like, what's the why get involved if they already have the money?
With the exception of MyPillow, I think that the companies that I'm describing, I don't necessarily know that they're sitting on millions and have cash reserves and that they're in great straits or well-funded, or even, I'm not even claiming that Sprint has a patriotic version of their platform available in a different brand. That was just an allegation, not founded in anything. MyPillow, I think, became the multi-million-dollar manufacturer that it is today because it rode that wave. Because they're selling pillows. You can get a pillow anywhere.
Right.
So it's like, how am I going to go direct to consumer with a pillow and a creepy CEO that's lying on that pillow, hugging that pillow? He's got a, stash and he's got guns. He's out there like, President Trump is the greatest president in the history of our country. Like, I think that when you sell something like that, it's like, man, we got to spice this up somehow. We got to find an audience.
Yeah, we got to make pillows sexy again.
But you know what he did? He ran so many ads on Fox News for so many years that he became like an international sensation. He's speaking at CPAC. He's getting offered board seats of these unfounded companies that, have lab patients from another disease treatment program.
So when you look at the model and what they've been doing, even if you think it's sleazy or sketchy, like,
it's effective
it's working.
It's effective in many cases.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
But yeah, you might argue that maybe the product is subpar, like in a technology sense. Like, I can't imagine Patriot Mobile is like 5G everywhere. You know, they're probably like beep boop, beep boop.
Yeah, like you get 4 bars at the Ku Klux Klan like like campsite.
Goodness. Patriot Mobile.
Like full bars, baby.
Wow. That was dark. All right. Ready for shout outs? Or do you have another super depressing story to take us out this week?
No, man, nothing depressing. I just want to shout out all the teachers going back to work and all the students. It's crazy time, last year we ended with it, but it definitely feels different beginning the year, like through all these procedures and everything. So I just want everybody to feel safe and confident, and just do your best. My heart goes out to you. I know that it's tough, so I'm with you, thinking about you all.
Yeah, kids, good luck learning with a mask on.
It's like, read my oh, you can't.
Yeah. I'm like, it's hard. You pass a pretty girl in the supermarket and you're like, hey, I want you to know I'm smiling at you right now.
Yeah.
All right. On that creepy note.
It's like, now you got to shift your eyebrows.
Yeah. Got to tell the story with my eyes.
It's like, why are your eyes so wide, bro? Like, tone it down.
All right.
You got any shout outs?
Nope. No.
Right.
Shout out to all the guys from the bachelor party. Had a great time with all y'all this weekend. Shout out to all our normal listeners and everybody going back to school. And that's it.
That's all we got, baby. That's the show.
Next week, Brad will be 219 pounds.
Working on it.
Tune in then for the weigh-in live.
We'll catch you up next week.
Bye-bye.